Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Lebeds, and I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today for Excel Basics. So, good morning. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Katie Lebeds, and we're here to cover Excel Basics today. So before we get started with the Excel basics, I just wanted to introduce myself. If for some reason you don't know me, thank you for joining. I really appreciate that. Maybe you were forwarded this meeting invitation. So thank you again for joining me. Again, my name is Katie Lebeds. I am the president of a company that I own personally called Learning to Lean. And Learning to Lean is a process improvement company and consultant. And I also own a company with a partner called Top Knot Virtual Assistants. So we are a VA virtual assistant organization in which we provide virtual assistant services such as managing email, a calendar, data entry, managing social media, etc. So again, thanks for joining me today. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our Excel basics. In today's session, we are going to cover your data. We're going to cover adding a new sheet to an Excel file, also formatting and saving. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, what I want to cover with you today is what is Excel? So Excel is a spreadsheet productivity tool. It is a data visualization tool, and it is an organizational tool. So it's a very powerful tool that can be used for a wide range of different aspects within your organization or within your small company, small business, or at home. My background is in management information systems, and that's another way of saying I am a little bit of a nerd. So, uh, the background in regards to Excel and from Microsoft, when it was being developed, it was codename Odyssey, and it was released by Microsoft in 1985. So Excel's been around for a while, which is a good thing because I think they have improved it most definitely along the way. So anybody that's watching the live video, if you could just give me a thumbs up so I can see that you're there and confirming that the video is working appropriately, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, so we're going to move on to our next tab here, and let's talk about data. So in Excel is all about managing data, and we want to be able to manage data in a way that you can easily understand it, and you can be able to display the data in the manner in which you choose or in manner in which you need to present it to somebody else. So basic data. So let's just talk about some of the basics. If we went to bare bones basics in regards to data, what are we looking at? Well, I think many of us have a grocery list, and the grocery list is displayed and on the screen right now. And the grocery list is showing that we need bananas, lettuce, tomatoes, and a column here that says buy with a question mark. So if you have a grocery list that you continuously utilize all the time, so actually this is one that we use. So these are things that we buy on a routine basis. So if I wanted to use this to manage my grocery list, I could list all of my items in the first column. So again, Excel is organized in columns and rows. And column A, you can see up at the top, column A gives me the list of the items from the grocery store. And column B gives me an indicator of whether or not I need to buy it at the grocery store. So these are columns in Excel. And as you can see, the numbers down the left-hand side of the screen indicate the row number. one of the cool things in Excel is that each cell in Excel has an address. So if I clicked on bananas, you will see that bananas has the cell address of A2. So it's almost like bingo, right? So column A, row 2. If I come down here next to the indicator for hamburgers that I need to buy hamburgers this week, you can see that it has a cell address of B12. So again, column B and row 12 here. Again, very similar to bingo. So that's a very basic list that you could manage in Excel. Maybe you have, we have a friend that has, I think, 36 grandchildren. So with 36 grandchildren, you could have the names of all of the grandchildren in column A. And in column B, you would have the dates for their birthday. That's another option to be able to keep it straight. I know I couldn't possibly keep 36 dates straight in my head. So, and we'll talk about sorting and filtering here in a second. All right. So let's move on to my next example here, which is printable grocery list. So printable grocery list is something that actually my parents use. So my parents have their standard groceries that they buy on a routine basis listed again in column A, and they have what we would consider headers. So underneath the headers, we have vegetables, dairy, meat, miscellaneous, and clean. So under vegetables, again, it's similar to that other list that we just saw, but this one is meant for us to be able to print out. So under vegetables, we have bananas, lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, and raspberries. Again, you can add to this list as appropriate for you, or you can delete from this list. In this column that says buy, what happens is that you can print this out and you can click on the buy or indicate with a pen or a pencil in this particular area to indicate that you would like to buy that particular produce. So if we just take a quick second, I'm going to show you what this looks like in print preview. So as you can see, this would be our grocery list that we would print out on a weekly basis. A lot of people have this type of grocery list and they hang it on their refrigerator. So what happens is as you're going through the week and your husband drinks all the milk, you can put an X here or teach your partner or your children to put an X here that says, or an indicator that we need to buy milk next time we go to the grocery store. So again, great tool to be able to use. Very helpful and pretty neat, keeps you organized. Now I want to move on to another tab. And again, I'm just showing you some of the capabilities of Excel. In this tab, you're going to see a more not complex, it's not a complex spreadsheet, but it's showing you, it's flexing a little bit of the Excel muscles. So you can see what exactly Excel has the ability to do. This is just a glimpse. This is not anything that that you necessarily would use on your day-to-day basis. And this is definitely not a representation of all of the capabilities in Excel. I just wanted to show you a few that are visual and show you some of the cool capabilities. So on this particular spreadsheet, we can see that we have in column A, we have the name of the people. So maybe you have a team that you work with. So it could be in your small business. This could be your own personal team that you manage, or this could be some data entry that you're doing for someone. So I have everyone's name here. Across the top in this row, starting in column B, I have a indicator for the month of the and the year. So as you can see, January of 2019 all the way to December of 2019. So with this spreadsheet, the intention for this spreadsheet is to be able to enter in the commission amount that each person made for each month of the year. Now, please keep in mind, this is made up data. This data isn't real. This is data just for presentation purposes. So if you're managing a team or you're managing a small business, this data could easily just be for you, and you could just have your name here, Katie, and then have the tracking of your commissions for the year. As you can see down here, we have a total commissions column. And we'll get into this in another session, but you don't have to pull out your calculator for this. All you have to do is use a function called sum in Excel that will actually add up all of these values for that row for Susie to give us the total commission for her for fiscal year 2019. Coming down here, I want to show you additional capabilities that Excel has. So Excel, of course, is a Microsoft product, and it has the capabilities to give us some graphs. And there are different ways in which you can show your graphs. So this one is commission by month by person. And so all it did was it took the data from here up at the top, and it put it into a bar graph type of format at the bottom. There is a different indicator for our color for each person that we have listed here under the names. And then this is segregated by month. So you can see, wow, who's that blue line? Oh my goodness, somebody is really just knocking it out of the park. And that appears to be John. So John is really knocking it out of the park. He started with sales in January at 900. And when he ended in December of 2019, his commissions was $8,200. So he's a rock star. And you can see by month how everyone is doing. Now, the flip side would be, let's see how each person is doing per month. So we have down on our bottom axis here, we have the names of each person. And then we have different colors of the bar graph that represent the different months of the year. So again, this one is a great indicator here just for John personally, that look at his cadence of his commissions. It's steadily going up. Mike, on the other hand, has had very little commission, and as you can see, they're actually going down. As we continue on in the spreadsheet and we're looking for additional graphs, you can take the information from your total commission column, and you can represent that also in a bar graph by person. So we have Susie, Joyce, all the way to Tiffany, and you can see that this represents the total commission per person for fiscal year 19. And again, as you can see, just like you saw in the other graphs, John is a rock star. I think personally, this is easier to see how overall someone is doing for the year than some of the other graphs, but it really just depends on what you want to see. Moving on to this pie chart. So Excel has a pie chart. I made this one sort of fancy. It's a 3D pie chart, and there are different colors representing the different people again. And your pie chart, your total of your pie chart must represent 100%. So what Excel does is it translates your information into a percentage and represents that percentage on a pie chart. So a whole pie represents 100%. And as you can see, as I'm hovering here, you can see that for John, so it says in my little hover button here, the total commission for John is $55,500, and he represents 48% of the total commissions by that team for the year. If we hover over here, we can see that that's Jerry. Jerry made $18,810, and he represents 16% of the total commission for the year. Just another way to look at your data. And of course, down here, we have just a simple line chart. And what this does is it represents the same information that was in this bar graph above. This line chart is just taking the data points, again, total commissions from Susie, from Pam, Joyce, the whole team, and it's showing how everyone was doing for the year. So I just wanted to show you some variety of types of ways that Excel can display. By no means does this represent everything, but it does give you a good glimpse into what information that you can enter that would also be helpful to be displayed in a graphical format. Sometimes you get questions from people in regards to your Excel data and how to display that. So let's pretend that you had to give a presentation to someone. What do you think would be easier to show? Would it be easier to show someone all of this data? Now keep in mind, I've got a quote unquote small team here with 10 people. You may have a team that has 200 people. Would the people that are attending your presentation, would they want to see this list of data, or would it be easier for them to interpret something like this in that bar chart? So that's one of the benefits of Excel, is that it can really help you to visualize your data, whether it's for your own purposes, for your team purposes, or for presentation purposes. And the last example that I wanted to show you today before we get to some basics is this is just another way to be able to manage your data. This is a contracts example. So we have the business name, the contact name, we have the contact email address and their territory, the salesperson, we have whether or not there's a contract in place, and the total value. So a couple things that I would like you to see or notice on this page is, first of all, the other page had the total here in column H going up and down. We have the total down here at the bottom. There's no necessarily right or wrong, but in this case, I'm not looking for, we already have the total of the value of the contract here for ABC. So adding a total column here really wouldn't make any sense. We want to know the overall value of the contracts that we're working on and or have won. And in that regards, it makes more sense to have the total at the bottom. I did some not very fancy formatting here, and we'll talk about borders in another class, but this is just a border to get that double line at the bottom. And where it says contract in place, you notice that the yes, we have a contract in place is highlighted in green, and the no response is highlighted in red. Did I do that manually? No. There is a function called conditional formatting, which we'll cover in another class, that automatically updates these colors for you. So let's pretend that Orlando has done a great job with Z Company and he is able to get a contract in place. I'm going to come in, I'm going to update my contract in place information to yes, and it automatically turns to green. And we'll give it a value of 500,000. Oh, sorry, 5 million. So just an example of conditional formatting. Conditional formatting was released within the past couple releases of Excel. It makes things much easier to have conditional formatting rather than to go through and do this yourself. All right, so those are just some examples of different types of spreadsheets, different types of data, from the very, very simple with your grocery list, your printable grocery list, your commissions per salesperson, and of course the contracts one. So today I'm going to walk you through creating your first spreadsheet. If you are totally new to Excel, creating that first spreadsheet and just going through some basics, as we said, step by step. So Excel is created, this is a workbook in Excel. So this is a workbook, and these are worksheets or tabs. So these are called tabs. So as I click at the bottom, you can see that these are called tabs. Just think of old file folders. These are called tabs down at the bottom. So in order to add in a new spreadsheet into this workbook, I'm going to click on the plus, and a new sheet appears. Easy as that. Let's pretend I did not want to have this particular sheet name, sheet 8. Wow, what exactly does sheet 8 mean? I don't know. Let's give it a name that makes some sense. So I double click, and for example, today, I'm going to talk about a budget. So I just typed in the word budget. Now again, we're in cell A1. That's the address for this particular cell. And this spreadsheet is arranged in a column and row type of format. Now, because we're entering information for a budget, we need to have the list of the budget items we would like to include. So I just came up with a short list that I'm going to enter here. So you just click on a cell where you want your data to begin. So I clicked on cell A2, and I'm going to start entering my data. So mortgage, insurance, car payment, groceries, pet supplies, actually at my house, clothing, cable, and probably cell phone also. So the first thing I want you to notice is that as I was typing, all I did was hit the enter button, or for any of us that are familiar with typing and typing class, it's return. So I typed in mortgage, I hit enter, and it moved me down to the next cell. Excel is smart enough to know that you're moving down for your list here. So when you hit enter or return, that it will continue to move to the next cell down. So if I click on my cell phone cell and I hit enter, it automatically moves to the next cell, which is A10, where I can enter in more information. It's pretty smart and it's pretty impressive. So if you notice right from the beginning, I'm a very visual person. So I'm noticing right away, gosh, car payments kind of hanging out of column A into column B. What's going on with that? Well, it just happens to be the width of your column. So you can adjust that column width, which I suggest you do. Otherwise, your data starts to get all crammed together. So in order to adjust your column width, I'm taking my mouse up to the line between column A and column B, and I am holding down the left mouse button and dragging it to the right. When I did that, you can see that it expanded the width of this column. This column now is wider than the other columns, and it gives me more room. Just from a visual standpoint, it's going to be more visually appealing this way instead of having that information hanging out. Now, let's say that you had a situation in which maybe the information that you're putting into your spreadsheet cell is quite large, or you need, let's say, 2 rows. So I want to be able to have a row with information and be able to hit return. So in other words, so if I start typing here and I want to say landscaping, and underneath it, I actually want to be able to say landscaping but it's landscaping for the house, not the barn. So I'm going to hit Alt and Enter, and that will give you a return or a carriage return right within that cell. So I hit Alt Enter and it moved down below the word landscaping in that same cell, cell A10. So I'm going to put in house. I hit Enter again and that drops me down to the next cell below. So if I was just typing in landscaping and I just hit Enter, it's going to move me down to row 11. But because I was typing in landscaping, got to the end of the word landscaping and hit Alt, your Alt key, and then Enter, it dropped me down and gave me that return. So I'm in that same cell. So this cell now says landscaping house. The other option that you have is that sometimes the words in which you are typing may be quite long, or it could be an email address, or it could be something that doesn't fit into this cell width. So let's just pretend we didn't expand this column, and let's say this is what it looked like, because that's what it looked like a few minutes ago. So what do we do with this? Again, I just showed you how you can expand your column so you can see all the information. The other trick that you can do is highlight your column by clicking on A. So as you can see, I move my mouse up to column A and there's a little down arrow. So I click on that to highlight my whole column. And then I go up to the top of the screen and I click on Wrap Text. And what that does is it does a word wrap within those cells. So car payment you saw before was kind of hanging off this column. It's now wrapped in that cell. The way I like to do it, again, is to be able to expand that column so I can see everything in a very clear fashion, not so squashed or squished over to the left. Now here we're going to give it a header. So I'm just going to call it item. And then here I'm going to put in the months of the year. So January 2020, February 2020. Now the cool part about Excel is that if I highlight January and February, and I use my mouse button at the bottom left-hand corner, and I hover over it till I get the cross, and then I use my left mouse button to drag it over. You can see that it hovers over to March 20th, so it auto-fills for you. Then April, as I move over to the right, May, June, etc. I'm going to go to December. So you can see, excuse me, that it auto-filled my information from after I typed January, February. I used the little crosshairs here, dragged it all the way over to holding down my left mouse button, dragged it all the way over to the right, and it filled in for December. Excuse me. Okay, so this is the foundation of our budget spreadsheet. So each month I can go in here and I can update my information. Let's talk about formatting a little bit more. It'd be nice if this had some sort of designation so I can understand it's a header. So what I can do is I can click on row 1 and click on the B for bold. That gives us a nice visual effect that is a header or the first row of your spreadsheet that will designate what the rest of the data should look like in here. Keep in mind, if you used a Microsoft Excel or a Microsoft product before, all of these headers up at the top are the same. So you're always going to have your home tab, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, view, and help. Now, of course, there's going to be different items in each of these because this is Excel. We don't have all of the same items available in PowerPoint or Word, but it's very similar. So moving forward, maybe we're just not sure about the font size. Maybe you want to change the font size. First of all, you have to make a decision if you want to change the font size or if you just need to make the screen a little bit bigger. So Excel has the zoom function on it, like every other Microsoft product. It's down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. When you open or create a new Excel file, it defaults to 100%. So this is what Excel views as 100% viewing. Maybe I need to make it a little bigger. So all I have to do is I either use this slide to make it bigger or smaller, or I can use this plus button. So this makes it much bigger on the screen. Again, you just need to decide, do I need to change the font size? Is the font size the problem? If it is, you can click on any cell or any column that you'd like to change the font size for. And again, your font size is right up here. So this is Calibrini, and you can change your font size here with the drop down, or you can make it increase font size with this capital letter A, or decrease font size with this little, it's not small a, but it's just a smaller a up there. So decide whether or not, is it the screen that I just need to make bigger? This is just like zooming in or zooming out on Chrome. Or do I actually need to make this particular font size larger? So let's put in some information just so I can show you some of the examples. So we know, or you should know, depending on how your mortgage works, right? Your mortgage or your rent should be about the same amount of money every month. So just for example's sake, let's say that's $900. So we know that every month is going to be $900. So I am going to enter that in. So as soon as I enter it in about 3 times, again, Excel is smart enough to know you want to repeat it. Using my left mouse button, I'm highlighting these 3 cells of data. I move my mouse over to this area where I get what's called the crosshairs. Holding down my left mouse button, I now drag it all the way to the right and let go of my left mouse button in December. And you can see Excel auto-filled. Because we know our mortgage isn't going to change, I can enter that in or pre-enter it in for all the months of the year. Let's hope your insurance doesn't change either, but it could. So let's just enter in the insurance for January, February, and March, because we're only 7 days into April. So we'll pretend our insurance is $250 a month. And I'm just doing 250 and 250. Your car payment, depending on where you are in your car payment life cycle, should be about the same every month. So if you did want to fill that in again, you could, or you could just put what you've paid now for January, February, and March. So let's pretend our car payment, we have a nice car, our car payment is $500 a month. Groceries, you can take a look at your groceries. And again, this budget spreadsheet can either represent your budget, or it can represent actuals. Actuals meaning how much you actually spent. So groceries can be tough. I'm not sure what everybody else is going through right now, but groceries have definitely been fluctuating in regards to how much we've been spending every month. So right now, let's just say that our groceries, just for an example's sake, are $300 a month. And we've spent $300 for January and February. March, it probably went up on our sake. And let's just say it went to $400 because we bought a few extra items, and no, we aren't hoarding anything. For us, pet supplies is pretty predictable. We know what supplements our animals take, how much the grain costs for the horses and the food costs for the cat. So we'll go in and put in that standard amount that we know that we've been spending. How do I know that? Well, I use a lot of subscribe and save options. So subscribe and save options for me are through Chewy.com, through State Line Tack, and also through Amazon, which gives me better control in regards to how much I'm spending every month, because I'm not going out and looking for other different pet supplies from different stores. It auto ships every month. Clothing, I'm going to say right now, it has been $0 for us. Cable, I know everybody's got a different cable bill. Let's just pretend it's been $125 a month. I know our cell phones are $120 a month. And landscaping for the house, maybe we're not going to do any landscaping now until April or May, which is probably true considering we're in Wisconsin. So we'll just leave that off for right now. The other item I want to show you is Excel tries to guess in regards to what format you're looking for. So when I put in January 2020, Excel knows that that is a month and a year. So it's fairly smart. But Excel didn't know when I was entering my information here that this was actually a dollar amount. So in order to transition this from just what is considered general information, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and I am going to highlight all of my mortgage payments for the year. I'm going to come up here to where it says number. I'm going to click on the dollar sign. So that's a little cheat. You could also have dropped down using this a drop down box up here and selected currency or accounting, etc. The other thing you could have done is by holding down your left mouse button, I'm going to drag my mouse down, holding down my left mouse button to the area in which I'm entering the data. I move all the way over to the right, still holding that left mouse button down. I go up and hit the dollar sign again, and it transitions everything in that area to dollars. And it will also transition any new information that you entered into dollars. And I'm just to delete again, you just go to your cell. I'm in cell F10. I hit my delete button and it's gone. So the last thing I'd like to show you today is how to turn on filters. So filters are great if you want to see information in regards to your particular, I just want to see how much we've spent this year on cell phone. So what I can do is I highlight, so this is the way I like to do it. I highlight the first row. So I click on the actual one in my first row. And then I go to, I always get this one, data, and then filter. Data, then filter. So there's a rhyme and reason for bolding these. There's also a reason for selecting the entire row. It's so that the filtering is applied correctly. When you get into more complicated spreadsheets, it can be a little bit challenging. So what filter does, I'm going to go back and click on my item. I'm going to hit the drop down box in there, and let's pretend I want to just see my cell phone bills for this month. So select all means it's going to show you all of those options. I'm going to deselect or uncheck select all, and I just want to see the cell phone charges. So I'm going to click on that, click on cell phone, click OK. And now it is filtered and it shows me only my cell phone charges. So make sure that you remember that you have turned the filter on. If you forgot, you can see this little filter type looking icon here, and it is showing you that you have, I'm going to bring this up a little bit, you have turned on the filter for cell phone. So let's pretend, okay, great. And now I know how much we spent or where we're trending for cell phone. I can take off the filters by clicking select all. Again, that will show me all of my items in column 1 and click OK. And we're back to looking at all of the columns in column 1. So again, imagine a spreadsheet that's much bigger than this. Using filters can help tremendously when you have a large amount of data. If you don't want to see those filters anymore, again, highlight row 1, go up to filter and unclick. One important aspect, of course, as you're working with any type of document, whether it's in Excel, it's in PowerPoint, it's in Word, you need to save your work. So in order to save your work in an Excel spreadsheet, you're going to go to File, and you're going to have Save a Copy. I have Windows 10, so this may look a little different for you. I'm going to Browse, and under My Documents, under Presentations here, I have created an Excel basic file and lesson 1. So I'm going to go ahead and save mine. Obviously, you can save it wherever you want. I strongly suggest that you don't save it to your desktop, as people can have hundreds of files on their desktop and they can easily get lost. Just take the time to go ahead and create a file folder and save it where it should go. I hit save. In my case, it's going to ask to replace it, and I'll be done. So just to review what we've covered today. So what we talked about was your data. We talked about adding in a new sheet. We talked about formatting and saving. We reviewed what is Excel. We looked at basic examples of a grocery list, a printable grocery list, a commission per salesperson spreadsheet that's a little bit, has more data, not more complicated, a little bit more sophisticated, and some graphical examples. We looked at our contracts spreadsheet, and we talked about in here some of your options for conditional formatting, which we'll review in another class. And we created our spreadsheet today called Budget. We talked about how to enter in data. We talked about bolding the headers. This would be considered a header. We talked about how you can drag over using that crosshairs to be able to enter in information automatically. We talked about fitting your column. We talked about using wrap text. We talked about formatting your cells for currency or numbers. We also talked about filtering your data. And of course, we talked about how to save it. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I appreciate any comments that you have to be added to the video once it's posted. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll have another session next week. If there's anything that you want to learn in particular, please don't hesitate to contact me directly, and I'd be happy to address it in a future session. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.